Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben. And we are now in April, and I've got some sad news to tell you. I really have, but I've decided I'm not going to be doing my gardening podcasts anymore, as I've had enough and I don't want to do them. And yeah, that is the end of the podcasts. Only joking, it's April Fool's Day. Unfortunately, I will be carrying on, or fortunately, whichever one you want to believe in. But yes, we'll definitely be carrying these on because everybody seems to enjoy them and I get some fantastic feedback from people. So thank you for everybody that does send me messages or shares my podcast. I appreciate it so much. I really do. So yeah, we are finally in April, and wow, has the end of March changed in the weather totally. It's gone from a heat wave and getting sunburn last week to snowing. It certainly has mixed up the weather, and wow, it certainly changes the way things are at the moment, because obviously we'd be saying get all your seeds sown and stuff like that, but obviously it puts a dampener on it, especially if you've got an unheated greenhouse like myself, which I've sown all my seeds. Obviously they won't germinate at the moment, but hopefully when it starts to warm up again, they'll all start popping through. It shouldn't cause no damage. They just won't germinate until it warms up, and pretty much, hopefully, it will be pretty soon. So yeah, we'll have to wait for it to warm up before all them seeds start germinating that I've sown recently. But March was a massive month for me, as you'll have heard in my previous podcast. How much I got done in the allotment in March was unbelievable, and I've so much more to get done in April. But if we keep working hard as we do, I'll fly through all the jobs list, and hopefully we'll be getting ready for planting out in May time, when the chance of frost has passed. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't get any snow towards the end of April and we'll start planting stuff out. But yeah, now that the nights are getting longer and the sun's setting later, we can spend more time in the garden. You can go in after work or spend all day down there now, and yeah, really make the most of these longer hours. And when it starts getting light early again in the morning, I'll be down there from 6 o'clock right through till late, and we'll be cracking on. And I really want my allotment to be a showstopper this year, and the amount of stuff that I've planted, hopefully, fingers crossed, it all grows and we have a successful year. And I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you. So yeah. So it's the beginning of the month, what we usually do, we usually share all the jobs what need doing in the garden in April. So if you've got pen and paper, you'll want to make notes of it, or you can re-listen to it and find out all the jobs that need doing. And if you've not listened to the jobs what needed doing in March, have a listen to them, and then you can also catch up on all them jobs what needed doing. And yeah, hopefully if you get all these jobs done in April, you can tick them off as you go along, and you'll be well prepared for the year ahead. And usually we talk about what needs to be done in the vegetable garden, in the fruit garden, and in the flower garden. And then tomorrow's episode, we will be talking about what seeds to plant in April as well. And that one's usually a very popular podcast. It usually certainly gets a lot of listens too. So if you're new to this podcast channel, make sure you click that follow button or subscribe button, whatever button it is what's showing, and follow me, and then you'll get notified when the new podcasts are up. And as I'm working at the moment for the next few days, these podcasts will be up early in the morning so that you can listen to them on the way to work, or while you're having your morning cuppa, or relaxing before you go to work, or while you're driving in the car. You can play it through your speakers, and listen to Gardening with Ben and listen to all those tips. But obviously you can't write notes while you're driving. I don't want you getting into trouble. So yeah, today's episode is all the jobs which need doing in the garden in April. So let's begin and find out what jobs we need to get done this month. So first we're going to talk about what needs to be done in the vegetable garden. There's not much to be doing in the vegetable garden at this time of year, as obviously there's not much growing outside at the moment. You may have obviously started all your seeds indoors, but there's not much happening outside at the moment. Not until that chance of frost has passed and it's safe to start planting stuff outside. So the things what need doing in the vegetable garden are asparagus. Hopefully you should soon be able to start to harvest these. These will hopefully be popping through the ground. They'll be sending the shoots up. Remember, obviously, the more you keep harvesting it, the more it will produce during the year. And obviously asparagus is quite expensive to buy as well from the supermarkets. So you can make yourself these posh meals and make them look pristine by adding these asparagus tips onto your meals and making them Instagram photographable. And yeah, soon hopefully you'll be harvesting some asparagus. Now I've not got any asparagus growing, and it's something that I really should plant onto my allotment, because it's the one thing that I have got missing off my plot. So possibly I could be adding that this year. It might be a bit too late now, but we'll have a look around and see if we can get some planted onto the plot, because I would like to show how well it does on the plot and if I can get it to grow nicely, because it is delicious as well. Peas. If you're growing an early crop of peas, make sure that you've started to add supports to them as they start to grow tall. Now, I grow peas regularly, and the best way that I support my peas is by putting some chicken wire behind it. I have used netting in the past, but obviously we don't like to be using plastic stuff. And chicken wire, you can obviously keep reusing it for years and years. Yes, it's expensive to buy to start off with, but once you've got some, you can just keep reusing it every single year. Just keep moving your pea bed each year and using the same piece of netting, and hopefully you'll get some sturdy peas. And peas do cling on quite easily. You probably have to tie them up to start off with, but once they get growing, they'll certainly be clinging on for dear life and growing really, really well. So yeah, it's all about growing peas, because they're one of the best things that you can grow, and most of the time you won't get them home in time. You'll just end up eating them all down at the allotment. I know I tend to do, and you end up going home with none. You certainly don't share them ones with your friends and family, trust me. And the next thing is prepare your seed beds. Start adding compost and green manure to improve the soil this month. So if you're wanting to improve your garden vegetable patches, you need to start improving them now. Start adding that compost. You can use your old compost if you've got compost from previous plants, and you can start adding some green manure or add some nutrients to the soil. Dig it in, let it work its magic, get the worms eating it and digesting it and breaking it down. So yeah, start improving them beds, and obviously the more effort you put into improving them, the better crops you will get from them. And it's all about looking after them beds and keeping them nice, because everybody wants to grow some good vegetables, and I've certainly been improving my beds this year, and hopefully I'll get some fantastic produce, because I've not really concentrated on improving them over the last 16 years, and I've certainly noticed a difference in the quality of my vegetables. So adding that extra nutrition to the ground and that food, it will improve your crops. So the next up is fruit garden. Now obviously you want your fruit to produce lots and lots of fruit, and I certainly do. And if you've been listening to these podcasts, you'll know that I've been adding so much fruit to my plot this year. It's going to be unbelievable if it all grows. but we'll just have to wait and see if it does actually grow first. Fingers crossed this cold weather doesn't kill them off, but it shouldn't do. Fruit is quite hardy, and you'll often get great crops from fruit. They never seem to disappoint you. They certainly don't disappoint me. Some years your fruit trees might get less fruit, but I certainly get a good crop every single year from my fruit, and I'm looking forward to it. So let's see what we need to do for the fruit. So if you've got fruit trees, make sure these have been mulched, but don't mulch right up to the trunk, as this could cause rotting on the trunk. The reason why is that the mulch does rot down, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use it on paths, is because it just rots down eventually, and you have to keep topping it up and adding more to it. But you can add mulch around your trees, and that will keep them moist, it will keep them warm, it'll keep the weeds down, and as the mulch breaks down, it will add the food to the plants and look after them. But like it says, don't mulch right up to the trunk, because it can rot it. The same goes for rhubarb. If you put it around rhubarb, don't put it over the crowns, because it can rot the crowns, and you wouldn't want to lose your rhubarb. And I certainly wouldn't want to lose mine. I've got 16 plants altogether, and one of them's not come back this year. That's pretty good to say. I've had all these plants in since I started my allotment, and yeah, it's doing absolutely brilliant. Now, raspberries. Now, I need to do this to my raspberries, because I've got so many new raspberries this year. I've got my summer raspberries, I've got my autumn raspberries, I've now got yellow raspberries, and I've planted about another 30 summer raspberry canes from shoots that had popped up where they shouldn't do. I've transplanted them all. I've moved them to my edge paths so that they're in my borders now. So what you need to do to your raspberries is you need to add a slow release fertilizer to help feed the plants this year, and doing that will help produce the bigger fruit and better fruit, because sometimes raspberries, they can just be really tiny and they don't come to anything, but adding that slow release food will give it the energy to grow really well. Now, I read a tip somewhere about raspberries, is that if you trim the tops off, like prune the tops off, they will bush out more and produce more fruit. So that's what I've done this year. I've not let them get too tall. I've just pruned them all at the top, and hopefully we'll get even more fruit. But that's the first time I've tried that, so I'm waiting to see how it gets on. So you might want to watch my Instagram stories and my Facebook lives to see how they actually get on, and see if it does actually work and we get more fruit. Hopefully we will do. And I've also picked up some food recently to start feeding my fruit and my vegetables, because I want to start giving them some food and hopefully produce bigger crops. I've just picked up some ericaceous feed to feed my blueberries, and the ericaceous feed can obviously be used on rhododendrons, azaleas, anything that's acid loving plants. So I need to feed my blueberries. I'm going to be doing that on a weekly basis. Just give them a drink every week. I was hoping to start last week, but it was raining when I was down at the allotment, so I didn't actually get a chance to feed them. So hopefully we have a drier time next week and I can start to feed them, and hopefully they'll produce more and more fruit, because again, blueberries are expensive to buy from the supermarket. So hopefully the better crops we get, the more produce we'll have. And the best thing about fruit is you can freeze it until you actually need it, and just keep freezing it all through summer, and it'll last you all through winter and through to the next year when you're collecting more crops again. So make the most of all your fruit. Don't let it go to waste. Just keep freezing it. Same goes for like blackberries and raspberries. Just keep picking them all the time and just freezing them, and you'll have some fantastic pies and crumbles. I know my mum will be queuing up to make me pies and crumbles, as long as she can make some for herself as well. So yeah, that is one major tip what I suggest. Right, now onto the flower garden. Now, as you know, I'm really getting into my flowers this year, and I'm really looking into everything that I can grow flower wise, and I'm learning so much this year on flowers. and I've still got loads left to learn. There's that much to learn about growing flowers. It's unbelievable. But hopefully we're going to have a fantastic display come summertime, and I really can't wait to share it with you. And my spring display has been fantastic. Yes, I've got loads of gaps still where I can plant more spring bulbs, but I'm making notes of where all my gaps are so that I can fill them all next year. I'm starting to put £10 away each month so that I can have a massive purchase of bulbs in the end of the year and get them all planted for next year to have a fantastic display to show you. It's just outstanding what it looks like at the moment, and I'm hoping the last of my daffodils will be out next week when I go down to the plot, and we can get some good photos down there to share with you. So what do we need to do in the flower garden? First off, are heathers. Now it says prune winter heathers this month as they start to fade. Now I've planted heathers for the first time. I bought these plants cheap from B&Q. They'd reduced them to £1, so I bought them all for what were left, and they were the best purchase I've ever made from B&Q. I always look for reduced plants, and if they're perfect in any way, I will purchase them and I will plant them and I will nurture them to make them good. And these heathers are absolutely beautiful. I've shared so many pictures on my Instagram of these heathers, of how good they're looking, and they're not fading yet. So I'm not touching them, I'm not pruning mine yet, not until they start to fade, because I don't want to lose that colour. They look so beautiful with all the spring bulbs and everything, and it's something I need to learn more about the heathers, because I do want them to spread and I do want them to fill up the areas and make it look nice at the front of my plot. So I need to do quite a bit of research on heathers, and hopefully as I learn new stuff I'll obviously share it with you and share the tips and advice that I find out about heathers. Pansies, you can keep them flowering. Just keep deheading them as they die off the flowers. Just keep deheading them and you will get blooms continuing. Just keep them going. Whilever you're deheading them, they will keep flowering and keep producing them colour in the garden. There's not much colour in the garden at the moment, so just keep pruning them, keep pulling them heads off. Make it a daily chore. Just go around the garden. If you do it every day, it'll only take you 10 minutes to go around all your plants and dehead them, but just keep on top of it. Don't leave them to go to seed. Primroses. Again, I bought some primroses cheap from B&Q. They don't look the best, to be honest, but if you're growing them, you can divide them this month as they start to stop flowering. Dividing them means that, because perennials are really good for spreading and filling areas up, so just keep splitting them and keep planting them up in the garden for more flowers. Roses. Now I need to definitely do this. Make sure you tie up any rambling roses. I looked at my roses the other day and they are all starting to send out the shoots and start growing. So I've got some arches on my plot what I bought last year, but they didn't come to any use because they'd only just been planted last year, my roses. So they didn't produce much of a trail. But we're going to start tying them up. We're going to start training them around these arches, because that is something that I do want to do. And I've got so many roses planted on my plot now, I'm hoping that they will look nice. I'll still keep buying a few more rose plants every single year because I want them to look nice, and again, they'll keep coming back every single year if you look after them. So I'm going to keep looking after them and keep feeding them, and hopefully we'll get some good roses growing on the allotment and some nice colour. There certainly are nice colour roses. So yeah, make sure you tie up any rambling roses. Sweet peas. Now it says to pinch out the tips of sweet peas so that they bush out when they grow. So if you're growing sweet peas, pinch out the tops so that they do bush out and you get more flowers. And obviously with growing sweet peas, the main thing to do is when they flower is just keep picking them. Keep picking them, even if it's every single day. You will get bunches off every single day if you've got enough plants. And the more you pick sweet peas, the more they flower. If you let them go to seed, they think that they're finished and that they're over and done with, and the plants will die back and you will lose your sweet peas. So the more you keep picking those flowers, the more they will keep flowering on the allotment. And the bees absolutely love them. And the fragrance is, wow, amazing. They may not last for long once you've picked them and put them in a vase, but if you keep picking them every day, you can keep replacing them. And your friends and family will absolutely love you if you keep taking bunches of sweet peas around to them on a regular basis. So think about that and grow some sweet peas. I've seen some great offers. If you've not grown any from seed, there is some great offers on sweet peas in garden centres at the moment. And yeah, I'm definitely growing sweet peas this year. It's one of my favourite things to grow on my plot now, and I absolutely love them. As soon as I walk down, I can just smell them. And I'm going to try and have so many sweet pea plants this year. I don't know where I'm going to put everything. I really don't. I've planted that much. I really don't know where I'm going to plant everything. And I've got them all in trays now, all my seeds, all my flower seeds. And the worst thing is when I'm going to have to divide them all and put them all in separate pots, if I've got enough room in my shed, because all my shelves are full at the moment as it is with all my seed trays. So getting them full of individual plants, we'll have to see if we manage to actually have enough room for them all. So that's all the things that need doing in the garden and the allotment in March. Not March, I'm thinking it's March. I'm recording this in March, but it's April. I have recorded this at night on the 31st of March, ready for you to listen to in the morning. Obviously, I didn't want to wake up at 5 o'clock and record it for you. But yes, these are all the jobs that need doing in the allotment and garden in April. And if you get all them jobs done, then you can concentrate on all the other stuff. There's not much on that list that you need to do, really. The main things is about just starting to feed your fruit plants and start doing a bit of nurturing on the other plants what are growing. And if you do that, then you'll get great produce. As the months go on, it will start to get busier and you will have so many jobs to do in the allotment and garden. And that's why I use the winter months to get all the jobs done in the allotment and garden, like all the maintenance work, all the redesigns, all the building work, any improvements I want to do. I get that done all the way through winter, because during the summer months you will not have time, because you will have your main competition to get up against, and that will be the weeds. Yes, the weeds. The weeds don't grow through winter, but they do start to grow when the warmer weather comes, and keeping up with the weeds can be the biggest job of them all. And unfortunately, I've got no tips on that. The main tip on looking after weeds is just keep pulling them out every time you see one popping through the ground. If you go around every single day and just pull the weeds out that you see, you will keep on top of it. We used to have this person at the allotment site, and he used to go down to the allotments every day, and all he did was just hoe his allotment every single day, and he didn't have a single weed growing on his allotment. It was absolutely amazing. It was pristine, no weed in sight, and wow, it was an allotment to behold. And he was in his 80s, so it's good to learn these things from the older generation, because they know more tips and advice, and they can share you all this brilliant information with you. And I learned so much from doing that, and that's one thing I need to implement in my life and on my allotment, is to hoe on a regular basis and just keep them weeds down. And over the last month, obviously I've been going around digging all my beds over now, and like I say, I have a big issue with bindweed. It doesn't cause me any damage, it's just a pain, and it grows so fast. I think I read somewhere that it can grow 6 inches in a day in the warmth, and it can get really bad. And as you'll have seen photos of inside my shed previously of what it's looked like, it can grow wildly, and yeah, it can be a real pain and a bind. But yeah, I'm going to do that on a weekly basis now. That is my target. Just go around and hoe every bed, and if I do that, hopefully I'll be able to keep on top of it. But I need you to keep poking me. If you see weeds growing on my plot, poke me and tell me. Say, oi, you've not listened to me. Listen to yourself. Make sure you go around and hoe them weeds out, Ben. But yeah, it's certainly one job that I need to get done on my plot. And hopefully it's going to be a cracking year. But like I said, I really don't know where I'm going to plant everything. I've gone over the top with sowing all my seeds, as I do every single year. I get overexcited and I plant too many seeds, but we'll see about where we're planting them. And what I always do, is that if I've got too many seeds, I go around the other allotments and I say, do you want some seeds? And people gladly take them. And then they may offer me seeds as well, offer me plants and stuff. So it's good to share with other allotment holders, because I'm fortunate. I've got a massive shed greenhouse on my allotment. A lot of people don't. They have to grow them on windowsills and stuff like that, and they don't have the room to grow them. So it's good to introduce yourself to other allotment holders and help them out. And you never know, they might just help you out. And like when I go on holiday and stuff like that, they'll always offer to water my plants for me, and that's the biggest chore what needs doing. So if you can make friends with allotment holders, it will owe you definitely, and it's one thing that I do encourage you all to do. Now, obviously we're in April, and I'm hoping to keep up these podcasts on a daily basis. I've done so well with them through March, and thank you for everybody that does listen to these podcasts. It really does amaze me. Every month I'm getting more and more downloads. Every single month there's more and more people subscribing and following these podcasts. It's unbelievable, and I'm hoping to make each episode a bit longer each month now. As we're getting into the year, I'm hoping to make them a bit longer, hence why it's probably going on for about 30 minutes, this podcast now. So I'm trying to explain stuff better and more for you to listen to. And yeah, I hope that you do enjoy these, and obviously you do. That's why you all keep tuning back in and listening, and that does mean the world to me. And honestly, it's hard work talking into a microphone for half an hour and finding stuff to talk about. And sometimes, yeah, I do go over stuff over and over again, but hopefully you'll learn from what I tell you. And like I say, everything I've learned, I've picked up from other people or seen posts online and stuff like that, and tried them and learnt from it. And that's all you can do with gardening, is learn from one another. So yeah, it's going to be a good year for everybody this year. If you put in the effort, you will get the rewards from your vegetable patch. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button, please do click that subscribe button. We want to get a lot more new subscribers this month to my podcast channel. It's free to subscribe, so what's the harm in doing it? And if you've not checked out my other podcast channel, which I'm going to be recording an episode for tomorrow after this one, go and check out that. It's called Gardening and Allotment Tips Podcast. There's a link in this description. It's on every podcast channel. We just need to get more subscribers on that one. In that podcast, we just talk about one specific topic in general. We don't talk about all different things. We just talk about one separate topic. Like we'll talk about melons in one episode. We'll talk about potatoes in another episode. We might talk about feeding the birds in another episode, or looking after the frogs and stuff like that. So make sure you do listen to that podcast and subscribe to that one as well, because I'm hoping for that one to take off as big as this one has done. And I do thank you for all your support, and I hope you do enjoy these. And if you've got any ideas of what you want to hear in these podcasts, please do let me know, and I will try my uttermost to record them for you. And one day, we never know, we might be able to do this full time, which would be my dream job. I certainly would love it. So thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for the support that you constantly give me, and I do appreciate it. Until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.